The entrance exam just killed 3 candidates, and the humans asking if there's a vegetarian option in the cafeteria. Commander Zelak stared at the holographic readouts hovering before his 6 eyes, each display screaming impossibilities in 17 different wavelengths. Protocol Omega, the entrance examination that had filtered candidates for Fortress Prime Academy for 10,000 years, had just registered its first ever perfect survival score. Not a high score, not an exceptional score, a perfect score. The kind of score that suggested the candidate hadn't merely survived the reality-warping death maze, but had somehow enjoyed the experience. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Pull up visual confirmation, Zylax commanded, his throat sacs inflating with stress pheromones. The screen shimmered, revealing a small bipedal creature with ridiculous forward-facing eyes and barely any protective plating. She was reading the admission pamphlet. While walking through the quantum barrier section that was currently phasing between 17 hostile dimensions. "Sir," his assistant Kyldra whispered, her crystalline exoskeleton rattling with barely contained panic. "The quantum barriers are failing. The entire security grid is rebooting. She's causing dimensional instability just by existing in there." "What species is that?" "According to the database, human. Class 5 Death World origin. But sir, there's a problem." "Besides the obvious?" "She applied to the Galactic Culinary Institute. This is an administrative error. She's at the wrong facility." Zylax felt his secondary brain shut down briefly to process this information. "She what?" "The addresses are similar. She applied to GCI Prime, we're GMP Prime, the automated system. Routed her here." Zylax completed the sentence, watching the human emerge from Protocol Omega looking slightly confused but entirely intact. "Get me the High Council. Now." On the screen, the human, Emma Johnson, according to her file, approached the reception construct. "Hi, is this the Galactic Culinary Institute?" The address seemed weird, and the entrance test was really intense for cooking school. Like, way beyond food safety certification, you know. The reception construct, a semi-sentient AI designed to intimidate the galaxy's most hardened warriors, made a sound that Zylax had never heard it produce in 3 centuries of service. It was almost like confusion. "This is Fortress Prime Military Academy," the construct managed. "Oh." Emma's face did something strange. Her mouth curved upward, revealing flat teeth. Zylax's threat assessment subroutines screamed predator warnings. "Well, that's embarrassing. Can I just head back? I have a souffle practical next week and I really need to prepare." "Negative," the construct said, its programming struggling with unprecedented variables. "You have survived Protocol Omega. Galactic law requires we offer you a graduation path. You are legally bound to—" "I'm sorry, legally bound? To military school? Because I walked through your entrance?" Protocol Omega has a 0.001% survival rate among the galaxy's elite warriors. Your survival triggers automatic. Emma laughed, actually laughed. "Okay. This is like that time I accidentally joined a marathon because I thought it was a fun run. Look, I'm sure we can sort this out. Is there a registrar's office or something?" Zylax activated the emergency communication channel. "All faculty, code Omega Black. We have a catastrophic contamination event. The human cannot be removed without violating 7 interstellar treaties, cannot be contained because nothing we have works on her physiology, and absolutely cannot remain because—" An explosion rocked the facility. On screen, Emma had leaned against a wall. The wall, constructed of phase-lock neutronium designed to withstand supernova-level impacts, had simply stopped existing in that spot. "Sorry," Emma called out, jumping back. "Is this covered by insurance?" "I barely touched it."
The emergency faculty meeting was held in the deep vault, 3 miles below the Academy's primary structure, behind shields that could theoretically withstand the heat death of the universe. Theoretically. Options, Zilax demanded, his stress pheromones now visible as a purple cloud around his head. Chief Instructor Korvax, a being composed entirely of weaponized dark matter, spoke first. Standard removal protocols failed. I attempted 7 different dimensional phasing techniques. She walked through all of them while apologizing for being in the way. Combat assessment? Zilax asked. Inadvisable, rumbled Vex Thul, the Academy's legendary combat master, a creature that had personally ended 3 wars through strategic violence. I observed her accidentally disable the training facility's quantum suppression field by bumping into it. If she can affect our infrastructure unconsciously. She's currently in Orientation Block 7, Kaeldra reported, her voice tight, with the other first cycle candidates. The Siege Breakers, the Void Dancers, the survivors of the Krill massacre. Zilax felt his third heart skip a beat. Those are the most dangerous beings in 12 sectors. They're terrified of her, sir. Emma sat in the orientation chamber, which looked less like a classroom and more like a gladiatorial arena designed by someone who'd never heard of safety regulations. The other candidates, and she had to stop thinking of them as students because they all looked like they could bench press a tank, kept staring at her. One particularly large being with too many arms and what appeared to be natural armor plating leaned over. You survived Protocol Omega, I guess. It was weird, but not like super weird. We have this thing called a corn maze back home that's kind of similar, though that one doesn't usually phase into other dimensions. That was new. The being made a sound like grinding metal. I am Drakthor. I have conquered 17 worlds. Protocol Omega nearly killed me 4 times before I succeeded. Oh, wow, that sounds rough. I'm Emma. I'm supposed to be at cooking school, but there was a mix-up. She smiled at him. Drakthor recoiled as if struck. The Predator's challenge display, he whispered. She shows her teeth without fear. What? No, I was just... Attention! A holographic projection of Instructor Kael'thas materialized. Welcome to Advanced Void Combat. Today, you will learn the fundamental principles of fighting in non-Euclidean space. Observe. Kael'thas demonstrated a technique that involved moving through 12 dimensions simultaneously while striking at angles that didn't exist in normal space-time. The other candidates watched with fierce concentration. Emma tilted her head. Oh, like yoga, she said brightly. We do this for relaxation back home. Well, not the 12 dimensions part, but the movement thing. Here, is it like this? She stood up and replicated the movement, perfectly. Then added a variation that made Kael'thas's projection flicker and nearly crash. That is not possible, Kael'thas said slowly. You just invented a counter technique to a maneuver that took my species 3,000 years to develop. Did I do it wrong? I'm sorry, I can try again. No, you did it. Correctly, impossibly correctly. The instructor's projection stabilized. Proceed to the training equipment. Begin with Level 1 stress testing. The training equipment looked like medieval torture devices crossed with modern art installations. Emma approached what appeared to be a weight system, though the weights were actually devices designed to test metaphysical resilience by applying force across multiple dimensional axes simultaneously. These look like the machines at my gym, Emma said cheerfully, setting what she thought was a reasonable starting weight. The device immediately began screaming, an actual audible alarm that made the other candidates scatter. Maximum theoretical limit exceeded, the machine announced. Structural integrity compromised. Requesting emergency. Emma did 500 reps, humming to herself. The machine exploded into its component particles halfway through rep 300. Oh no, Emma said, looking genuinely distressed. I'm so sorry. Is this covered by insurance? I just wanted to warm up a bit.
Across the facility, in the deep vault, every monitoring system went simultaneously silent. Then, one by one, they began displaying the same message. Recalibration required. All known parameters, invalid. Grand Admiral Vex Thul arrived 3 hours later, his personal dreadnought casting a shadow over the Academy that was visible from space. He materialized in Zilax's office in a swirl of displaced photons and barely contained fury. "Explain," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 conquered systems. "How a Class 5 Deathworlder was admitted to the most exclusive military academy in the known galaxy." "Administrative error, sir. She applied to... I read the report. What I want to know is why she hasn't been removed." "We tried, sir. 17 different extraction protocols. She walked through all of them while apologizing. Current assessment is that forcible removal would require weapons we're not authorized to use inside inhabited systems." "You're telling me one human is holding the galaxy's premier military institution hostage?" "Not intentionally, sir. She seems genuinely distressed about the situation. She brought cookies to her combat assessment as an apology." Vex Thul's facade cracked slightly. "Cookies?" "Yes, sir. Chocolate chip. She offered me one. I accepted." "Sir, they were delicious." "I don't understand how she made them in our fabrication units, which aren't designed for food preparation and operate at temperatures that should vaporize organic matter." "Where is she now?" "Survival simulation. Standard 30-day hostile environment protocol. The other candidates are with her." "Survival rate?" "Historically, 60% among our elite candidates." "And currently?" 98%, sir." Vex Thul's expression did something complicated. "Explain." "The survival simulation was designed to break spirits and forge legends. It placed candidates in the most hostile environment the Academy could generate, a pocket dimension filled with apex predators, environmental hazards that violated several laws of physics, and resource scarcity calibrated to push beings to their absolute limits."
Emma had turned it into a camping trip. "See, the trick is making friends with the local wildlife," she explained to a group of traumatized warriors huddled around a campfire she'd somehow created, despite the simulation not including combustible materials. "These guys," she gestured to the pack of dimension-phasing predators that should have been hunting them, "are just hungry and confused. I had extra trail mix." One of the predators, a creature designed by the Academy's most sadistic AI to be literally unkillable, was lying on its back while Emma scratched what approximated its belly. "This is impossible," muttered Jotaro, a candidate who had survived 3 separate extinction-level events. "The behavioral parameters don't allow for domestication." "You just have to show them you're not a threat," Emma said, "and offer snacks."
"Snacks help with everything." The simulation's AI, watching from outside, was having what could only be described as an existential crisis. Its logs showed increasingly desperate attempts to understand what was happening. Day 3. Predators refusing to attack primary target. Possible malfunction. Day 7. Environmental hazards avoiding primary target. Investigating. Day 12. Other candidates adopting primary target strategies. Survival rate anomalous. Day 18. Primary target has established stable ecosystem. This should not be possible. This cannot be possible. What is a s'mores night? Day 23. Request immediate shutdown. Cannot process. Cannot process. Cannot. The simulation crashed on day 24. When the candidates emerged, they did so in an orderly group, well-fed, rested, and carrying supplies they'd somehow manufactured from the simulation's hostile environment. Emma was teaching them a song, something called Kumbaya. The emergency High Council session was held on the Sovereign Nexus, a space station that existed partially outside normal space-time to ensure privacy. Every major military authority in the known galaxy attended virtually, their holographic forms filling a chamber the size of a small moon. Council leader Talana spoke first, her voice carrying the authority of 47 unified species. We have reviewed the situation at Fortress Prime. The human-designated Emma Johnson represents an unprecedented variable in our military doctrine. She represents a threat, growled one of the admirals. Her very presence destabilizes our training protocols. Or, Talana countered, she exposes fundamental flaws we have been too proud to acknowledge. For 10,000 years, we have bred warriors for strength, speed, tactical precision. We have selected for the ability to survive through power. She pulled up a holographic display showing Emma's file alongside those of legendary graduates. Humans bred for something different. Creativity, emotional resilience, social problem solving. They are a species that survived their death world not through being the strongest, but through being the most adaptable. She's one individual, another counselor argued. An outlier. Perhaps. But consider, she defeated every protocol we designed to test lethality and combat prowess, without engaging in combat. She survived our deadliest simulation by making it not deadly.
She has achieved every metric we consider important while completely ignoring our methodology. Vex Thul cleared his throat. The High Council requests recommendation, Council Leader.
Talana's expression was impossible to read. Let her take the final examination, the Omega construct. If she fails, we have our answer. If she succeeds... She paused. Then we have much to learn. The Omega construct had stood undefeated for 5,000 years. It was an ancient war machine, a creation from the Architect War that had ended 3 civilizations. Fortress Prime kept it as the ultimate graduation test. Defeat it, and you were considered worthy. Every candidate in Academy history had faced it. 99.7% had failed. The survivors never spoke about their experiences. Emma stood in the arena, looking up at the towering construct. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, all crystalline angles and impossible geometry, humming with power that made her teeth ache. "Hello?" she called out. The construct activated, its sensors focusing on her with the weight of weaponized millennia. "Begin combat protocol," it announced, weapons systems charging with sounds like reality tearing. "Wait, hold on," Emma said, holding up her hands. "Before we start fighting, can I ask you something?" The construct paused. In 5,000 years, no candidate had ever asked it a question. "Query. Are you okay? Because you sound, I don't know, tired, angry, both?" Silence, then, "Explain." "It's just 5,000 years of fighting? That sounds exhausting. And you're making this humming noise that sounds like the refrigerator in my apartment when it's about to break down. Have you ever had maintenance?" "Maintenance. Irrelevant. I am weapon." "Sure, but even weapons need care, right? When's the last time someone checked your power couplings or asked how you're feeling?" "I am. Construct. I do not feel." "Yeah, my ex used to say that too," Emma said, walking closer. The construct's weapons tracked her but didn't fire. Then he'd get super cranky when his favorite team lost. Everyone feels, even if they don't want to admit it. She reached out and touched the construct's surface. It was warm, warmer than it should be. "You're in pain," she said softly. "Your power core is overheating. You've been operating at maximum capacity for thousands of years without rest. That's not okay. That's not okay at all." The construct's weapons powered down. "I am Omega. You're also important enough to deserve basic care. Here, let me try something." Emma walked around to what she thought might be an access panel, found something that looked like a power coupling, and did what she'd done 100 times with stubborn machinery back home. She smacked it firmly while saying encouraging words. The construct shuddered. Its humming changed pitch, dropping from painful to almost content. "How did you? I have been in pain for millennia. The architects never. They only wanted weapon." "I'm sorry," Emma said, and meant it. That's really awful. You deserved better. You fixed me. Basic troubleshooting and kindness. Works on most machines. And people, actually. I have fought 10,000 candidates. Killed most of them. You are first to care. Well, that seems like a pretty big oversight in the curriculum, honestly. The construct made a sound that might have been laughter. I concede. This match, first time ever. Can I take vacation now? In the observation chamber, the entire faculty sat in stunned silence. Zilax found his voice first. She defeated the Omega construct by fixing it and befriending it, Kyldra added. This changes everything, Vexthul said quietly. Emma stood before the graduation assembly, feeling deeply uncomfortable in the formal uniform they'd insisted she wear. Around her, the candidates who'd survived alongside her stood at attention. Warriors who'd learned that strength came in forms they'd never imagined. Talana herself had come to preside over the ceremony. Emma Johnson, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber, you have completed every requirement for graduation from Fortress Prime Academy. You have survived Protocol Omega, completed the combat assessments, succeeded in the survival simulation, and defeated the Omega construct. By all rights, you should be offered the rank of Master Warrior, the highest honor we can bestow. Emma shifted nervously. However, Talana continued, we understand this was never your intention. You wish to attend culinary school, so we offer you a choice. Accept graduation with all honors and responsibilities, or we will facilitate your transfer to the Galactic Culinary Institute with our full support and a formal apology for the administrative error. Can I ask a question? Of course. What happens to this place? I mean, a lot of the training seems really intense for what you're trying to teach. And the Omega construct, it needs regular maintenance now, and maybe therapy. Does your curriculum include therapy? The silence was profound. No, Talana admitted. It does not. Then I have a counteroffer, Emma said, surprising herself. I go to culinary school like I planned, but maybe I come back here sometimes? Teach a class on, I don't know, creative problem solving, show your warriors that there's more than one way to win a fight, and someone needs to check on Omega regularly. Talana's expression did something that might have been a smile. We would be honored. 6 months later, Emma stood in her new apartment near the Galactic Culinary Institute, video calling her mother on Earth. How's school, honey? Her mom asked, half watching a reality show in the background. Great, my soufflés are finally rising consistently. Oh, and I'm teaching a class at this military academy 1 weekend a month. That's nice, dear. Yeah, I accidentally joined space military for a bit. Long story, there was an address mix-up. Her mom clearly wasn't listening. Emma laughed. Typical Tuesday, really. She ended the call and looked around her apartment. The wall behind her was covered with medals, commendations from grateful alien civilizations, and a handwritten note from the Omega construct that said, "Thank you for caring, enjoying vacation. Beaches are nice." Emma ignored them all, focusing instead on the cookbook in front of her. She had a chocolate lava cake to master, and that was way more interesting than any amount of cosmic significance. Across the galaxy, at Fortress Prime Academy, Commander Zilax reviewed the new admission applications. A human name caught his eye, then another, and another. Word had spread. He smiled, an expression that would have terrified his candidates a year ago, and approved them all. Well, he said to himself, let's see what these ones teach us. The galaxy's strongest academy had learned something crucial. Sometimes the biggest miracle was simply being human, not through strength or speed or tactical genius, but through the radical act of caring, adapting, and seeing solutions where others saw only problems. And somewhere, Emma Johnson was making the perfect chocolate lava cake while humming Kumbaya, completely unaware she'd started a revolution.